Good morning, Morai v'Rabotai, Bruchim Habayim. We're continuing on Masechet Succah, and we're on the bottom of Daf Mem Dalet, Amud Aleph, about 2 lines up from the bottom of the Amud. Today's Amud is being learned as a Zchut, Refuah Shelema, for Michael ben Nahid, Rachel Simcha bat Nahid, Rachel bat Edna, Esther Bracha bat Chaya, Rabbi Abraham ben Tashgol, that should all have Refuah Shelema b'toch Sha'ar Cholei Yisrael. Amen. And today's Amud is also dedicated for Aliyat Neshama of Jacqueline bat Avraham Anakdas. This week's learning of the community has been graciously dedicated by the Shea family, Cohen family, and Dayan families. Should be an ultimate zchut for all their mishpachot. Amen. Amen. So we started the discussion of Rabbi Yochanan, whether or not Arava is a halacha Moshe Sinai, or maybe the last thing that we discussed, that Arava was basically a later takana, Yesod HaNevi'im. There was a discussion between Rabbi Yochanan and Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi, whether or not Arava is the Yesod HaNevi'im or Minhag Nevi'im. Was it instituted as a halacha for everyone by the Nevi'im, which in this case would make a bracha on it, or would be a minhag nevi'im, which means the nevi'im kind of like didn't institute it for everyone, but they guided people to do it, and they made it a minhag, in which case it's a right thing to do, but you would not make a bracha on it. And Gemara says, wait a second, Rabbi Yochanan really said that this is Yesod HaNevi'im, because the Gemara said, mistaber, that the one that said it's Yesod HaNevi'im, not a minhag nevi'im, is Rabbi Yochanan, because one of the students of Rabbi Yochanan actually codified this in the name of his Rebbe, the holy Heilig Rabbi Yochanan, that Arava is Yesod HaNevi'im. Gevaldik. But the Gemara says, wait a second, we just got done finished saying that Rabbi Yochanan was the chain of command who said that Arava is actually halacha Moshe Sinai. And that's a bomb kasha. So Gemara says, Ishtomem keshachada. So he was quiet for a moment. How do you answer that? That's a good question. Rabbi Yochanan both said that this is halacha Moshe Sinai. He also said that this is Yesod HaNevi'im. Can't be both. It has to be one of them. And Gemara says, no. What happens is they actually forgot it, and the Nevi'im, when they went to Bavel, after Churban Bayit Rishon, after Nebuzaradan destroyed Bayit Rishon, and they went down to Bavel, in Bavel they forgot about it. Because after all, when it's the Oraita, where is that? In the Mikdash. They didn't have the Mikdash. So they forgot about it. So when 70 plus years later they came back to Eretz Yisrael, based on the Nevuah of the still existing Nevi'im, Chagai, Zechariah, Malachi, they reinstituted the mitzvah of Arava. So when it's talking about Yesod Nevi'im, the Nevi'im were reminding us of what was halacha Moshe Sinai, and they reinstituted it for people to be done. And now actually it makes a lot of sense. That's Yesod Nevi'im according to Rabbi Yochanan, not Minhag. But then the Gemara says, wait a second. You're suggesting that in the duration of the galut of the Babylonian exile, they forgot the Torah so much so that they forgot about one of them. It was one generation, after all. It must have been really bad. And we know that it was not that bad. Because after all, what happened with Galut Yechonia? We all know, we have spoken about this in past, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu's genius had it, that 11 years before the actual Galut happened, the real destruction of the Beit HaMikdash happened, Hashem had it that 11 years before, Nebuchadnezzar took all of the Chachmei Yisrael, all of the leading factors of Klal Yisrael out of Eretz Yisrael and into the Bavel. We call it the Galut of Charash Umasger. Now, based on the real Pshat, Pashut Pshat in the Psukim, it means these were the warriors. They took the heads of the army, the generals, the Air Force and the Navy and all the Team 6, all those they took out. So you kind of like didn't have, the army would not have any leaders. And they also took the blacksmith out of Eretz Israel, the people who would be making weaponry. So this way, basically, they crippled, it was a very smart move, they crippled the potential, the army and the potential future army for Klal Israel. That's how they did it, 11 years. But the Gemara Darshins, the Charashu Masker, really were the top Talmidei Chachamim. We're not talking about the warriors. If you take a look at the Rashi over here, the last Rashi says Hakol Giborim. I'm reading in the middle, 6 lines up, 5 lines up from the bottom of Rashi. Hakol Giborim Oseh Milchama. These were all mighty people, Oseh Milchama, the ones who were waging war. And Mara says, it brings from Seder Olam over here, V'chi ma giborim osin b'nei adam anotirim b'shalshlaot shel barzel. It says these people are in chain, they're handcuffed. What oseh milchama do you have? What war were they waging when they're on the way to dungeon? It says oseh milchama. They actually were doing milchama right there and then, and that's milchamta shel Torah. These were the mighty warriors of Torah, the greatest of the Talmidei Chachamim. And in retrospect, even though that society of Eretz Yisrael felt devastated, you can imagine. Imagine you come in and you take Rabbi Yashiv and Chacham Obadia and Shon Zamar Orbach and all those people and gone. How devastated you feel. But what Hashem's genius had in store for them was, these people went to Babylonia, they created yeshivot, you came there, you already had Porat Yosef and the Panovich, and all of them were set up for masses of people to come, and that preserved the Torah in the difficult galut of Babel. So they were Talmidei Chachamim. And I will prove to you, says the Gemara, how much of Torah you had in Babel from Rabbi Yochanan himself. We're talking about Rabbi Yochanan here. It says the Gemara, how can Rabbi Yochanan think that they would forget the Torah in Babel so much so that you need to reinstitute things like that? Rabbi Yochanan himself is the one that said, Dilchon Amri, Dilhoni. Now, what's the story for this? Well, he started yesterday mentioning that Rabbi Yochanan was a very proud, should we call it Zionist? He loved Eretz Yisrael so much, he believed that in Eretz Yisrael your life is completely different. That he felt that you only would have longevity in Eretz Yisrael. You only have Torah, you have that siyata d'shmaya, that thing only in Eretz Yisrael. Right? But nevertheless, even though the Gemara in Chulin, the Gemara there says that Rabbi Yochanan felt that Rav was his Rebbe, and Rav was in Bavel, right? She says, Itli Rav be Bavel, and even after Rav passed away, the Gemara says Shmuel was insulted that he did not recognize him as the next in command. So Shmuel wrote to him 300 camel loads of, which Rashi says is guzma, of Sfekot be Terefot Are'ah. Complicates the questions he sent to Rabbi Yochanan. And Rabbi Yochanan was, wow, Shmuel also is my Rebbe. Oh, now he assumed Shmuel as his new Rabbi. Both of them are in Bavel, right? But nevertheless, maybe they were Yotzei Min HaKlal in that story, and therefore you could maintain Rabbi Yochanan's pride of Eretz Yisrael until the following story, which is mentioned in Masechet Baba Kama, Daf Kuf Yud Zayin. There the Gemara says Rav Kana, who was one of the top Talmidim of Rav, had an incident, an unfortunate mishap, that he had to kill somebody. That was an informant, whatever the case is. And now the government was on his case, and he had to run. And where are you going to run? From Bavel, he goes to Eretz Yisrael, right? So he goes to Eretz Yisrael. By the way, this is a whole sugya, and I'm thinking this is very webbed together with many other Gemara. The Gemara in Ketuvot, for instance, Daf Kuf Yud Aleph, writes that Eretz Yisrael is, if you're outside Eretz Yisrael, is Kemish She'en Lo Eloka, right? In Eretz Yisrael is very different. The Torah is very different, and just like it's asur to move out of Eretz Yisrael because you have the Torah,
And what there says, just like it's asur to go from Eretz Yisrael to Bavel, it's asur to go from Bavel to any other land, because the core element of Torah was so strong, and you're not allowed to go from somewhere that has strong Torah education to a place that has a weaker Torah education of that sort. So again, you have to connect all of these pieces together. But nevertheless, when Rav Kana comes to Bavel, and he was a tremendous person. He writes that Rav Yochanan was, like Sinai, and Rav Kana was Oker Harim. Rav Yochanan was a very, he knew everything. He was Baki, but Rav Kana was a very sophisticated mind. He was Oker Harim. And Resh Lakish already saw, before the shiur started, he saw that this person that came from Bavel is no ordinary person. He goes to Rav Yochanan, to his chavruta, and says, go over your shiur and prepare well today. Ari ala mi Bavel. There's a lion that has come up from Bavel, so prepare yourself. And Rav already had warned Rav Kana, his student. He said, when you go there for 7 years, don't you talk in learning with Rabbi Yochanan. He knew Rabbi Yochanan was, was going to, he knew what's going to happen. He knew that he's going to be hurt, and if you hurt Rabbi Yochanan, you died. There's anyone in Shas that made Rabbi Yochanan was a person that was so beloved by HaKadosh Baruch Hu. He was a Bal Yisurim. He lost 10 children, whatever. It was and whoever he became upset with, that was the death wish, basically. Resh Lakish himself, the Gemara in Masechet Bamitzia, Daf Pei Gimal and Pei Daled, the Gemara there says that Resh Lakish himself had an altercation at some point with Rabbi Yochanan. Rabbi Yochanan became hurt by what he said, and he was his brother-in-law and his chavruta, and Resh Lakish even got sick and died. It's like it's not that he wanted to kill him, but it's like Rabbi Yochanan was so beloved to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. If you messed with him, that was not good news. So Rav told his student Rav Kana, I said, do not speak with him in learning back and forth for 7 years. Let him get used to you. Let him realize your greatness quietly and slowly. And so he goes there, and the story goes that he sits there. They sit him up front. Again, back then it was based on who you were, and he said 7 different shmuas, and Rav Kana said nothing. Every time that he said something and had nothing to say, Rabbi Yochanan Dashne had nothing to say, they moved him back up one thing. I said, oh, maybe he's not that great, right? And at the end of 7, Rabbi Yochanan says, what happened to this lion that came up from Bavel? He turned into a fox, and so Rav Kana did not like that. He said, that's all that these 7 things that they did to me should be considered like the 7 years. So he deviated from what Rav said. So he said, okay, say the shiur again. Say it again. Say, in this time, every single thing he said, he dismantled it completely. And Rabbi Yochanan had no answer for it. Rav Kana was a tremendous person. And this time, every time they moved him up and they took the things off Rabbi Yochanan, it was an uncomfortable encounter, to say the least. And Rabbi Yochanan he was old, very old, and he had long eyelashes or eyebrows, and he was not able to see people unless when he wanted to see something, they would come and they had silver things that they would pick up his things, and he wanted to see this person, this great Talmid Chacham, and Rav Kana's lips were chopped in a way naturally that it looked like he was laughing. Okay, that's his regular face was like that. So Rabbi Yochanan was hurt because he thought that he's mocking him, and so on. And the rest is history. He died. He actually resurrected. And it's one of the places that you see that the Amoraim resurrected people. It's a fascinating story. Very interesting. I had a lot to talk about this story in many different elements of question and answer that has to be done. But be as it may, that's not for us. But this is where this line comes from. When Rabbi Yochanan saw the magnificent level of Torah that Rav Kana had, he turned to his people, to his Talmidim, and said, Dilchon Amri, Diloni, I thought you guys have the Torah. Look at what Bavel has produced. This is real Torah over here, right? So Rabbi Yochanan knew what was going on in Bavel. And again, this perhaps, to a great degree, was the effect of the Charash Masger that was in Bavel generations earlier. It became like a hotbed of Torah And therefore, to say, says the Gemara, to say that they just forgot this is not really sayable. So therefore the Gemara says, Lo kasha. Gemara is going to retract what it said before and says, no, kam b'mikdash, kam b'gvulin. The halacha Moshe Sinai, that you have to take the mitzvah of Aravah when there's the mikdash, that is in the mikdash. That's exactly what it is. And the Yesod Nevi'im, that is in Givulin. So it's not that Nevi'im went back to reinstitute what was, but they instituted a new thing that was not before, and that is that Halacha Moshe Sinai is only covering the area of the Mikdash. They added the Yesod Nevi'im that it has to be in Givulin as well, and that basically becomes the halacha over here. Amar Rav Ami. Rav Ami said 3 things about Arava. Arava sricha shiur. Arava needs to have a minimum shiur. The Gemara later on is going to spend a lot of time on this, what the shiur is. It's not taken but alone. That means you have to take it just by itself, not with anything else. And additionally, you can't be yotze your yedei chova, you can't fulfill your obligation by taking the lulav, which has the arava in it. Now, obviously, if you were listening right now, you would jump on this, as everyone with their eyes they're telling me, right? That the 2 last ones are like a loaded gun. They are identical, right? It's superfluous. The Gemara is going to ask this question. Kevan de Amar more. Once you tell me that it cannot be taken with other things, it has to be taken by itself. Obviously, I will know that you're not yotze with arava shebelulav. So says the Gemara, Ma'udetema hani mili hecha delo agbehe. Well, it says, maybe you will think that this is only when you take it once. If you pick up the lulav for the mitzvah of lulav, then you can't double dip and say, well, I took the lulav, but I technically also took the arava, so I should be yotzeh the mitzvah of lulav and the mitzvah of arava. But if I put it down and take it a second time, now this time I am taking it solely for the mitzvah of arava, maybe I should be yotze. Maybe I should be yotze this way. So says the Gemara, you would have thought, if you took it once and then you put it down, you took it a second time, maybe you would think that it should be sufficient, and therefore the Gemara says, Kamash Malan, the second thing is coming to tell you that you are not going to be yotze, even if you take this as a second time, but you're taking it with lulav and hadas, together with arava, still you're not yotze. You have to take the arava mamash alone, by itself. Says the Gemara, Rav Chisda, Amar Rabbi Yitzchak, Adam yotze dechovato ba'arava shebelulav. He disagrees. Rav Chisda says in the name of Rabbi Yitzchak that a person could be yotze with the arava that's in the bundle of lulav. You put it down, you take it the second time, and you will be good to go. The Kama shiurem. The Gemara says, what is the shiur? Amar Rab Nachman, Gimel Bade Alin Lachim. You need to have 3 stems with fresh leaves on them. All the leaves are there, 3 nice branches of arava. Rav Sheshet Amar, Rav Sheshet says no. Afilu alei echad u'bad echad. Even if you have 1 leaf and you have 1 stem, 1 branch without any leaves, you will be good to go. The Gemara says, what? How is that possible? Alei echad u'bad echad sal kadatach. You think he's really talking about 1 leaf? You're taking a leaf in your hand, a leaf of arava? The Gemara says no. Ela ema afilu alei echad bebad echad. Even if you're taking 1 branch, that this branch only has 1 leaf on it. So it's not a branch without any leaves, and it's not the leaf alone, but it's combined. There's 1 branch that doesn't have all the leaves, but it has 1 leaf. Gemara says,
That would be the machloket amoraim of what the shiur exactly is. Amar Aibu. Aibu says, Hava ka'amina kamet Rabbi Eliezer ben Bar Sadok. I was standing in front of Rabbi Eliezer Bar Sadok. This is again, the Gemara is going to bring a number of memoras said by Aibu when he was in presence of Rabbi Eliezer Bar Sadok. So it says, I was there, says Aibu, in front of Rabbi Elazar Bar Sadok, ve'aitiyahu gavra, and this fellow came, and he brought arava for Rabbi Elazar Bar Sadok. Ve'aitiyahu gavra arava kame, shakil, he took it, chavit velo barich, and he did chavatat arava without bracha. Rashi says chavata is lashon ninua. He did the nanuim. Rambam says chabata is clapping. Like, that's the chabata. But be as it may, that's why Ramah writes in Shulchan Aruch that we do nanuim and then we clap it. Right? That's where it comes from. So it says, the Gemara. So Aibu says, I was standing there with Rabbi Elazar Bar Sadok. This fellow came, brought arava. Rabbi Elazar Bar Sadok took it, and he did chavatat arava, and he didn't say bracha. Now this goes back to the machloket Rabbi Yochanan and Rabbi Yehoshua ben Levi, whether chavatat arava is Yesod Nevi'im or Minhag Nevi'im, right? So now it's very consequential because it's very meaningful what this story has to say, because he didn't say bracha, must be what? It's Minhag Nevi'im. Because had it been Yesod Nevi'im, he would say bracha on it. Now from here, from this Gemara, by the way, you see that on Minhagim, you don't say bracha. It's actually a Gemara in Masechet Daf Kafchet, together with 3 other places in Shas, that the Gemara and the Tosafot basically discuss the saying bracha on minhag. Specifically in that Gemara in Masechet Kafchet, is talking about saying bracha on Halel on Rosh Chodesh. Do you say bracha on Halel on Rosh Chodesh? Well, Halel on Rosh Chodesh is a minhag, right? So now this obviously becomes a platform for discussion of those who do say bracha. Right? The Ashkenazim, for instance, do say, generally speaking, many of the Sephardic communities used to have this minhag of saying bracha on it as well, including perhaps our community. Maran in Shulchan Aruch writes the minhag of Yerushalayim, the minhag of Eretz Yisrael, is not to say bracha on Halel. And this is, again, the Varin Atikim, this is old and full of, this is an old discussion and full of literature. Much has been written about this. This obviously also borders on making a bracha on Hadlakat Nerot of Chanukah in Bet Knesset, because the takana of Nerot Chanukah was Ner Ish Ubeto, right? It's a household thing. You make a bracha when you have a house. Bet Knesset is not a house; it's a communal thing. So, can you make a bracha on the Pirsume Nisa that you do in Bet Knesset or not? This becomes a whole diyun, because Rambam, who holds you don't make bracha on minhag, he also says that you do make bracha on this, and this became a platform again for tremendous amount of rate halachic literature. But nevertheless, we're doing what we do, a basic Amale, and he tells him, Kiryata Itli, I own a village. Karmaya Itli, in it I have kramim, I have vineyards. Zetaya Itli, I have fields of olive trees. Ve'atu bene Kiryata, and this question happened in Shnat HaShemitah, in Shvit. And it says, Atu bene Kiryata, people of this village come, umikashkashin bekarmaya, they fix up the vineyards. Remember, this is on Shvit, which is asur to work the land, right? Should be asur. And they are basically plowing and fixing the base of every vine, right? They're coming to, every vine, it's important to fix around the area around it. So they would do this, and I pay them, as a payment, they take some zetim, right? They take some of the olives as their payment. Now, you're not allowed to do that, because the pasuk says that you can't do schora. It's you have to eat the fruits, but not do business for them. Paying your workers with the fruits of Shvit is doing business with Perot Shvit. You're not allowed to do that. But they were taking this as their payments. This guy is not doing this. He comes to the rabbi, comes to the Beit Din. He says, look, I own this village. I own the vineyards. I own the land. People come there, do this, and take the fruits as their payment, and it's Shvit. Am I allowed to do that? Arich or lo arich? He asked this question. Is it proper or is it not proper? Amaleh, he told him, lo arich. He says, no, it's not mutar. Can't do that. So says the Gemara, kashavik levasil. This guy left. Now, you may have thought that he got angry and left. But right away, Amar, the Rabbi Shlomo says to his Talmidim in the Bet Midrash, says, Kadu haviti dairi ba'ara hada mem shinin. He says, I've been sitting on this chair for 40 years. I've been the rabbi in this community. I've been the Rav of Beit Din for 40 years. And I have never seen, so I've never seen a person that's a tzaddik and does the right thing like this fellow. This is a good man. So first of all, he's telling them that he's not that he's angry and he left. He's going to figure out what he's going to be doing with this, because he now learned the halacha. He probably ran to tell them, you can't do this, right? Yeah, he's a tremendous person. Others learned this pshat that he means to say that he accepted and he left. Instead of bargaining with the rabbi, so maybe you could find the kula, maybe a little donation would help. Instead of doing that, he just said, okay, sure, and he left. And Rabbi Shlomo was so impressed, says, wow, I've never seen a man like this. I told him such a difficult thing, and it's so easy to say, well, why can't it be? They have scared, they're taking it, they're not asking for any other payments. Instead of that, he says, sure, and he went to fix the things. However you slice that, Rabbi Shlomo was a big fan of this guy, and he comes back, this person, right? Hadar Ati, he comes back to the Beit Din, Ve'amale, he tells Rabbi Shlomo, my miavad. He says, what should I do? So he told me that this is not good. I went and I told him whatever, but what should I do? What is the right way of doing it? Amale, I told him, that's easy. Afkar zetaya, you should make the zetim hefker, as it should be, on Shnat HaShemitah, lechasuchaya, for the aniyim, v'ten peritaya lekashkushe keramim, and pay from your own pocket money to the people who are working this land. So Gemara says, wait a second, you're not dealing with the main issue. V'kishkushe mishari, it's Shvit. How can they be working the land, these people, and get paid for it? Tanya, we learned in the Braita, says the Gemara, that you have to let the land be. Tishmetena untashta. It's two languages. Tishmetena means milekashkesh. You can't plow, you can't fix the base of the vine, the base of the trees. Untashta milesalek. And untashta means you can't even go in there and take the stones and throw them out, thereby fixing a little bit the land. Even that you cannot do. So Amar Rav Ukba Bar Chama, Rav Ukba Bar Chama said, Terekish kushiyavu. when we talk about kishkush, it's two different types of fixing the ground surrounding the base of the tree. Chatz tumepili. One of them is to make sure that the roots are not uncovered. It ruins the tree. You know, you get the rain, you get animals there, you have to constantly be on top of them, that the roots are not uncovered, they're not exposed, because that actually kills the tree. And to fix that is mutar and shvit, because you could protect your trees. You're not trying to enhance anything, you're just trying to prevent them from dying. That you can do, and that's an ongoing process. They get uncovered, you have to cover them, you have to make sure they're protected. And then the second one is abruya ilani, to, you know, when you plow around it and you change up the dirt, it gets more oxygen and, you know, it becomes more healthy. That is asur. That they were not doing. Says the Gemara, stumepili is mutar. What they were doing was stumepili, the first one, and that is mutar. So therefore, this was the second story of Aibu with Rabbi Elazar bar Tzadok, and tomorrow, Be'ezras Hashem, we'll discuss the third and final story of Aibu in the name of Rabbi Elazar bar Tzadok. Have a wonderful day.